Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. This is Rob Makalek. I am the developer of MasterMine for MasterMine for GoldMine. Very glad to see so many of you joining us today. Really looks like it's going to be quite a full house. So thank you all very much for taking the time. I want quickly today to show you, obviously, what's new in version 9. And first, a quick introduction. For those of you who don't know me, I am the original developer of MasterMine for GoldMine. And this preview that I'm going to do of the new features of version 9 for MasterMine is really meant just to kind of whet your appetite for the new features and tools that will enable you to take control of GoldMine more than ever, I hope, based on what's new in MasterMine and your building upon your already existing knowledge of MasterMine. And I want you to think in terms of really with what's new in MasterMine, how can I not only turn out reports more easily, more effectively for my users, but beyond that, think in terms of facilitating efficient workflows. And I'll get into reasons for why these new ways of working with MasterMine are going to facilitate that. That is why we called this session New Opportunities with MasterMine for GoldMine, because I want you to, as I go through this today, I want you to think in terms of those new opportunities to use MasterMine really broadly to make your GoldMine success greater, not just how to deliver reports. Or how to really do what you are already doing in GoldMine or even in MasterMine more efficiently. So quick, just sort of a mood setter here. This is a quote that I like to bring up because it really kind of hits the nail on the head, I think, with regard to MasterMine and GoldMine. If you're thinking of MasterMine as only a report writing tool, and I know there's a lot of users who got MasterMine probably many years ago, who created a few reports and have used those reports, and still like the fact that even though you can bring up the same reports, they're refreshing with today's current data. You can put a couple of settings in there and have it show slightly different information. That's all wonderful, and maybe that all by itself justifies having MasterMine. But I, as I say, I think this is more broadly a set of tools that help you to really manage GoldMine all around. So I'm just going to illustrate that with this, and I think a lot of you have probably seen this before. Just summarizing quickly what MasterMine is, again, for those who think of it just in terms of reporting. It is, of course, the reports and dashboards, also a whole set of capabilities for data manipulation, which we've expanded on in version 9, that really make it possible for a savvy user of MasterMine to with a combination of pivot table reports for selecting data and other skills in Excel to actually update data, really gives you the ability to command and master that GoldMine data and make the data itself conform with what you set up GoldMine to do. Beyond that, there's process management, which I'm going to talk about a little bit, and process management really is I direct that usually more toward, say, sales administrators or marketing administrators or people who, within an office have a job of making certain business processes move forward, really quite apart from reporting or directly manipulating GoldMine data. It's there you're really talking about facilitating office processes, and I'll talk about that a little bit again as we go into this. And then finally, GoldMine administration is the other major part of this that I've really added here as a reminder that if you can do reporting from GoldMine, if you can manipulate your GoldMine data directly from Excel, then you really can administer your GoldMine much better, especially if you have that mindset of let's cause our GoldMine data to conform with our way of working with it, rather than just, like, say, change some lookups and hope that over time, as people do manual data entry, they're going to, fix our data. In reality, it doesn't really work that way. It works much better to, when you decide how your lookups should be in GoldMine, when you decide how things should fit together, you just change the GoldMine data to also fit that new way of thinking. So all of that is really about, of course, bringing Excel together with GoldMine and really taking advantage of both sides of that equation to really give you what you need in terms of GoldMine success. This next slide is our last one before I come to the agenda. I just want to kind of bring up, and actually I only meant to show these all in one go, bring up what we're really aiming for in terms of GoldMine. With MasterMine, the two married together should give you a much better informed sales force and management in terms of their knowing what the sales force is doing, and essentially everybody all around should be able to know what's happening, and not just know what's happening in the GoldMine data, but know what's happening in the real world, because the GoldMine data reflect that. They should also have, one hopes, a methodical, efficient sales set of sales activity that is monitored through MasterMine reports, and a sales process that is shared across the sales team. That really is a way of having best practices happen within your sales team. If your sales team is off, everybody's off doing things their own way, not learning from each other, that probably describes the vast majority of sales organizations in the world, unfortunately. But the ones that really succeed the best are the ones that have some sort of method that is, understood by management, trained to the new salespeople, that really takes advantage of best practices as they're developed by the most experienced or the most, let's say, innovative salespeople, most successful salespeople. The other three areas, the other areas here that I really want to, again, we're going to talk about in practical terms, replacing manual tasks with smooth workflows. So often we start working with customers who have manual daily processes that somebody slogs through. They may be doing some other things really efficiently. They may have completely automated certain parts of the business, and yet you've got people walking around the office with spreadsheets to pass and manually updating those spreadsheets and making tallies and handing them around and so on. And that really is the limiting factor in some sense on your success, not the ability to squeeze 10 seconds out of the process of creating a new report. And so if you think in those terms, think in terms of your daily processes in the office that people are spending inordinate amounts of time on. Oftentimes, it's a MasterMine solution that eliminates the most inefficient things that are done in your business. And so that's hopefully a way of kind of broadening your horizons with regard to MasterMine and GoldMine. Having trustworthy data, of course, is another major result of this, because if you've got information, you can bring it at will up in front of you in Excel, as opposed to seeing it record by record as you typically will see it in GoldMine, or only in terms of what you specifically ask to see. If you can get that into Excel, it is much easier to see what you have, to make changes to it, to update that data back to GoldMine, and really change from having a situation where people don't trust what's in GoldMine and therefore don't update the database as information changes. Regard that as their go-to information. They think their go-to information is what they have in their personal Outlook or in some spreadsheet they've got off on the side. If that happens, you're already on the road to undermining the success of your GoldMine. It is much better to have GoldMine be your hub of trustworthy data, in fact the most trustworthy data in the organization. And the last one really is kind of the bottom line. Improve GoldMine processes and payoffs as a result of all of this. So our agenda for today is going to be several parts. So first I'm going to talk about users and uses of MasterMine, and that's kind of what I've been talking about. So I'm not going to go into that too much except to tell a little story. After that, we're going to talk about what's new in version 9, and specifically the categories that I've sort of bundled these into are report management and sharing, and really security features. Those are, well, I handle those kind of together. Data exporting, importing, and sub-record creation, so thinking in terms of passing information into and out of GoldMine from other applications to other people, to other applications, whatever makes the most sense. There's a number of new tools in MasterMine that make this much easier to do. We also have reorganized the templates, built some new ones, made them much easier to find, hopefully, or made it easier to find the ones that you need. And then at the end, toward the end, I will talk a little bit more about GoldMine administration and some tools that we've built in that make that easier. And then, of course, the compatibilities. Of course, everybody wants to know what is MasterMine, our sort of compatibility matrix that so that you can keep your GoldMine up to the levels that you need to have it, as well as Excel and so on. And then we will get into the practicalities very briefly at the end, because it's actually quite simple to install version 9 and update your license, and then I'll take some questions. So that's the agenda for today. Let's get right in and have a look at MasterMine. We've got a little over 45 minutes left in our hour here, and I intend to use it as efficiently as possible. So you should see our little GoldMine demo database here in front of you, and I'm going to jump right in and talk a little bit about record management. I'm sorry, report management. So the MasterMine launch dialog. I'm sorry?
Hey there. Before you do, this is Carnegie, everybody. Hi. I wanted to remind everybody, if the GoToMeeting dialog is blocking your view, there's a little orange arrow pointing to your right. You could click on and retract that so you get full view.
Yes, okay. Good point. The other thing is, as questions come up, as you can tell, Carnegie is on the call here, so you can post questions into the question dialog just as you think of them. Carnegie will interrupt me as appropriate as we go to do this, or she will just hold on to them and we'll handle them during the question and answer period toward the end there. Okay. So with that, back to our beginning here. The launch dialog for MasterMine has been updated in a couple of important ways. Most importantly, we had users who wanted to be able to organize their MasterMine reports, and again, I want you generally to think in terms of multiple users of MasterMine. The launch dialog will remember every place that you create a MasterMine report and every place you save one to. So the folder tree that you see on the left-hand side is really a subset of your overall folder tree on your workstation and in your network. Now, the particular one that we're looking at here, this is all in the drive C of this demo machine, but if I had saved some workbooks to a network, you would see another tree here for the network. And the topmost folder that you would see up here would be the one that I had most recently opened a report in, or saved a report to, so that you always see the most current ones. You always at least have fairly easy ways of finding the most current reports that you work with. In fact, we've expanded that a little bit by not only giving you a longer list of recently used reports. So to me, I often will find myself rather than navigating around down here, although I use the functions down here to sort and organize my reports, I will very often come to the recently used reports to get the top 3 that I'm working with all the time, or the top 5. And that, I think, is a very efficient way of just kind of getting yourself quickly to reports that you most commonly use. Now, in the new dialog here, we have the ability to either show paths or not. If I click Show Paths, you can see the entire path to these reports, or you can switch that back off again and just go by the names of those reports. The other another important new thing here in the launch dialog is the ability to specify certain reports as being your favorites. Again, you can show paths or not. You can also just sort of clear out your list of favorites and add to them. Favorites that you designate are done. Is done. You can see that sales versus goals here is one of my favorites in the executive dashboards folder. It becomes a favorite by right-clicking on it and just hitting Add to Favorites, and that just adds it to that list there. If you want to remove that from favorites, likewise, it stops being highlighted there, and then in my favorites list, you see that it's no longer there, or I can put it back in again. having a favorites list and a recently used list hopefully facilitates much better, much easier getting back to whatever reports you want to work with. A third area that we've added here, and again this is kind of a much requested one, is being able to search through file names. So if you know you created a MasterMine report, you saved it someplace, could be in any one of these folders, and you're one of those users who's really created a large number of them, and they are sorted out for various different users or in other places. What this will allow you to do is actually go and look for only reports that, in this case, that have the word call in them, in the title of the report. And what that does is really filter on the left the locations of where reports are that have the word call. And you can see now each of the icons here next to the folders either does or does not have field reports in it. Looks like a little sheet inside of a folder there. On your own screen, this might look very tiny, but when you're using MasterMine, it should be a little easier to see. So I can tell that the desktop folder has a report with the word calls in it. Documents does not, but MasterMine Reports does. Actually quite a number of them with the word call, and others. And I can just sort of traverse through those and find the one that I'm really looking for. And if I want to be more specific, and it has to have both call and appointment, APP, then that'll make it narrower still. Whoop. Narrowed it all the way down to nothing. Okay, so that's the search function together with the other things under the launch dialog to stop limiting by the search word. Just simply take whatever you have out of the box and hit the search button on the right, and that brings you back to your starting where you were at the start. The other thing that I want to point out here before I move in and just start opening up a report and talking about changes in Excel is short menus. There are short menus on both sides, on the left and the right. And what the short menus allow you to do is to see other information around the tree of information that you already have in GoldMine. So for example, I may know that I have other subfolders of the MasterMine Reports folder. These, what shows, are only the folders that contain reports that I have saved to, MasterMine reports that I have saved in the past. But if let's say out in Windows, I may have moved some MasterMine reports around and I want to include them in my tree here, then what I might want to do, for example, is right-click here and show all the subfolders of the MasterMine reports folder, and that would allow me then to navigate and find additional reports that I may have moved here some other way. Maybe open the report from here, and then once I've done that, not only does that get me that report in Excel, it also adds that subfolder to my tree of folders in the launch dialog. So that's all about basically making it easy to work with reports at the workbook level. Okay, so I'm going to actually close that, come back to my launch dialog, and we're going to open up some new ones, or open up some other ones that I've already planned to. Okay, so when you get your version 9, one of the things that will happen is reports, as you open them up, one by one, will get updated to the current version 9. And so it's an automatic process. It should just happen, without really, there's not much really anything that you need to do, but you will be asked an extra 2 questions as the reports open up. The first question is just, do you want to upgrade to the current version? There's really no reason not to, unless you're experiencing some difficulty with version 9. So there's no reason not to, but then once it has upgraded, or while it's upgrading, it will make a backup, and it will offer the opportunity to close that backup. So I wanted to show you that here. Here's where we want to go. Our executive dashboards here. I'm going to actually take this sales and goals workbook here, and you'll see as it's opening up, it will ask me the question. Or maybe I've already updated this one. Oh, here we go. So the report appears to be from an earlier version of MasterMine. Update to the current version. I'm going to say yes. It does sort of the updating that's necessary, and then you get a second question here. The report is updated. Is it okay to delete the backup version? Pretty much always it's safe to say yes here if everything went smoothly, and you obviously still have a workbook that you can work with. You would want to save that, and that essentially completes the version 9 upgrade for this particular report. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say about that. And then with this report open now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a few of the newer features that are here inside of Excel. And it starts with the security features. So first off, we wanted to make it, we'd been asked a number of times, can you essentially set this up so that when you have a report in Excel, that you can kind of lock it down to a particular user. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and go in here and choose just Rob as the user here. And this is a new feature that I really like about this version, because for a couple of reasons. One is that it makes it easy to set up a report for let's say a single sales report. Like this would be a sales versus goals report for our sales team, and let's say we have 10 different sales reps. And we don't want them each to see everybody else's data. We just want them to be able to see their own. What you can do is take your report and lock the report down to a particular user. So I'm going to go to the MM Tools tab here, and I'm going to point to this new feature in MasterMine. By the way, everything that I talk about today is written about in some detail in the newest version of the user manual, which is also available right here, right there, on the MasterMine toolbar, and it's also available via the Create dialog and the Launch dialog. So don't feel like you need to memorize everything I say today. Okay, so there's once I get the user field, user ID up here. So there's our forecast sale report for one of our users. Let's call that one Rob. And again, I'm going to lock this down to the logged in username, put in my password. And now if I try to change that to another user, a little more confident, it's not going to allow me to do that. Or if I try to drag that off the report, or if I try to do anything else that makes it so that we can't, or so that a user could see somebody else's data, it would not allow them to do that. Okay, so that's what the idea there is. And then, of course, if you wanted to take off the lock, you would need to know the password that we use to lock it with. I'm going to leave that on. And so, and my point in doing it this way, actually, I will unlock it. Put back in the password. Because what I want to sort of illustrate is when you log into the current GoldMine user's username, what you're essentially doing is making a report that can then be opened by any GoldMine user, but as it opens, it will set this user ID to that person's username. So if I've got 10 different people sales team, I can essentially make one report, and as it opens up, it will automatically show just the information for that user. And of course, in the rest of your settings, you make it so that it automatically refreshes with new data. And typically, that means that for those end users, it's a very simple process of just simply open it, it refreshes, it shows them their current information. They can still drill down and interact with the report, and so on. Now, the third option, the reason I brought this back up is I also wanted to talk about the third option, which is you can have it default not just to the whatever the current setting is, which would just lock it only to Rob no matter who opened it, or the second one where it would lock it to who the current GoldMine user is. The third one is to the full name of the GoldMine user. Now that's in the event that, let's say in GoldMine, you're doing reports at the account level, and you've got, let's say, a sales rep field, and your sales rep field is not populated with GoldMine usernames, it's populated with the actual full name of the user. So in this case, it isn't actually, but if we had put in the people's full names, then you could lock it down to those as well. Again, so that it changes depending upon who is logged into GoldMine. So that's a little bit longer excursion into that than I was hoping for. But that's a feature that's been much requested and that I really like as a way of kind of setting up reports that have a certain security. Now, other security features, it's important to know on the MasterMine toolbar, our security tab, by default, when you create new reports, every report is set to refresh automatically while it's opening and to actually save without the data that's in the workbook. And if you want to lock that down, this can also be password protected so that users are unable to change that. Again, if you're the report creator, when you save this workbook with those lockdown criteria, then you are essentially just adding a level of security to the reports, so that it's harder for somebody to walk off with information from the company. It's harder to essentially to see things that belong to one user that you don't want others to see. This feature also works, by the way, really well with things like curtaining. If you want users to only be able to see things that are records that are curtained for them, this could be the owner field from the Contact One table that you're locking this down to, that sort of thing. Okay, so I won't go into all of the features because there's quite a few, but just suffice to say there are better security options here. All right, data importing, exporting, and subrecords. Creating subrecords in GoldMine. This is an area that I think is really exciting, especially because so often what we encounter is companies that want to be able to make use of, let's say, outside marketing tools. Maybe you're into Constant Contact, and there's this sort of built-in GoldMine interaction with Constant Contact. And it's pretty good. In fact, it's so good that one of the things we've done is in our create dialog, which I'll come back to later, is we've added templates for doing reporting against Constant Contact data. Not just reporting, in fact, but also management of it, because you can also use your updater to, let's say, clean out past information that isn't right, or correct it, or really go beyond just simply reporting on what's there. But specifically with regard to importing, exporting, and creating subrecords, think about it this way. If you're a user of MailChimp, one of the things you need to do regularly, if you're a marketing person, is segment your data from GoldMine, which your pivot table makes much easier to do than building queries on the GoldMine side and trying to figure out what you've got. And you might do something like say, well, okay, let's take everybody that we've got, you'd probably work with past sales rather than current forecast sales, but let's suppose we wanted to do marketing with everybody that had a forecast with us in 2014. And there are going to be 47 specific sales, although there might be some duplications here. And with that, you might take that group, and if you were doing the marketing within GoldMine, chances are what you would do next is go on to your drill down page and actually build a GoldMine group, and then from that group send out your email. That's been built into MasterMine. That's been there for years and years. But if you want to actually upload information from here into, and I don't have the email addresses in here, but as long as we're at it, why don't I just illustrate the fact that if you neglected to pull in a field from the GoldMine side, it's a good idea sometimes to go in and add in a field that's missing. I'm going to get the primary email address, which is actually, we call that a Contact One field, even though many of you know that email addresses are not really in the Contact One table, but we present it as though it were. So I've added that field in so that now when I drill down on my 2014s, I've got contact company email address, and then a bunch of other columns that I probably don't need to upload into Constant Contact, or into MailChimp or whatever I'm using. That's fine. The key thing though is I need to be able to export this list into a CSV file that I will be able to upload into my MailChimp. So we've added this button up here on the MasterMine toolbar called Export. Now this export will work whether you're on a drill down sheet as I am here, which is a regular list, or you're on the a pivot table page, which I would call more of a report or a standard kind of a report. So whether your purpose here is to create an export of data that's going to be uploaded into something else, or to create just a standalone Excel worksheet that you'd be able to pass around or send outside the organization that someone would be able to open and work with, this export button works for you either way. And essentially all you're needing to do here is just say, okay, we're going to take this information, we're going to put this in a CSV file and call it, upload to MailChimp. It doesn't really matter what you call it. I'll say okay, and it will give me a dialog that allows me to choose where it's going to go. I'll go ahead and put it on my desktop. And then I'm offered the possibility of switching over to actually look at the data. And actually, I'm seeing it there, and I don't really want to go to it, so I'm going to say no. We'll save that and come right back to the report that we started in. And if I go out to my desktop now, you would see my Windows 10 desktop. It's a little bit harder to. So here on my desktop now, I've created this CSV file called upload to MailChimp, and that, of course, is going to be your source for uploading. So that's getting the information out to MailChimp. Again, taking advantage of the pivot table to do the pivot table in the MasterMine reports to do your selecting of who's actually the target group going to be. I think that right there is already a big step forward in terms of efficiency for the marketing side. We also have importing. So now the importing can be could apply in the MailChimp example in that scenario where we've uploaded data out to them. It might also apply in various other ways. You send out information using the export, send it out to your distributors, or you are a distributor and you send it out to the principals, showing here's the leads that we are currently working and where we are with them. Or you might actually be sending it out. Well, okay, so if it's going out to distributors, it might be, here are the leads that we've provided you. Please put in a comment on each row of this and send it back, send that spreadsheet back to us. When they send it back, you would then be able to import that information into MasterMine using the import button here, and then using Updater, actually update GoldMine records with the information. So we're talking about taking a process that currently in many organizations takes a long, long time or really never gets done because it would just be too inefficient or difficult, and reducing that down to a few steps that you would take. It's not completely automated because you still, some human intervention and thought is required along the way, but it is still a much more efficient way of getting to the result that you want to. Now I'm also going to actually, as my example here, what I want to show is a slightly different kind of an import, which is, let's suppose you have an accounting system in which people place orders. So you run the orders through the accounting system. You have accounts there that contain your GoldMine account numbers, which may be there because when you transferred the information into your accounting system, you did that, or you may have done it manually or whatever. In some way, you're coordinating the two. Then from your accounting system, and this is true of just about all accounting systems or ERP systems, you can do exports into Excel. You may not be able to do exports directly into GoldMine because the interfaces like that are typically fairly expensive to build. But to export into Excel is a pretty standard function in any ERP system or accounting system. Now I happen to have pre-created over here on my desktop a file that I'm going to open here in a second. That's an Excel export from an accounting system, and I'm just going to import it into MasterMine. Now it's important, if I just opened it up in Excel, I wouldn't have the rest of the MasterMine functionality available to me to get it into GoldMine. But because I'm importing it into MasterMine, I'm going to choose it. I'm going to go to my desktop to get it, which I guess I already had here. I'm going to open up that file. Now, what it's asking me, what it will normally do is, if that sheet only has one sheet in it, then it will offer that one to me. If it has multiple worksheets in it, then it will let me choose from the worksheets that are in that file to add into the existing workbook that I've got here. In this case, and it's the one that's there is named Sheet 1. There's only one of them in there. So I'm going to say yes, and so what it does here, as you can see, is it has added Sheet 1, even though it duplicated a tab name that I already had. It's added Sheet 1 from this other workbook into my MasterMine. And you can see this is information from, again, from an accounting system. And let's say these are people who bought from us in a certain date range. Why do I want that? Because I want to schedule, I want to make sure that I schedule an outbound call by my sales team to follow up on these purchases. So, and with that, what I'm going to do is demonstrate this next really great thing that's new in MasterMine, and that is over here in MMUpdater. So MMUpdater is going to look a little bit different to you if you've been working with it, but what we did basically was leave the most, really the core function of MasterMine, which is updating a particular column of data for a selected table in GoldMine, and you can pick which tables in GoldMine you want to work with, using a lookup value to get to the right record, choosing which column in GoldMine are you going to be updating from which column in the sheet that you're on. That's the basic look of MasterMine. The rest of it is what we're calling advanced, and so just to kind of make that a little bit more explicit there, you sort of roll that down, and then we have all these other tabs for doing other functionality that relates a lot of it to GoldMine administration, but some of it to, well, really to everything that you might want to be doing with your GoldMine data. And in particular, what I want to do here is I want to create new call records in GoldMine based on the records that I've pulled from my accounting system here. So I know I want to create records, so I'm actually going to go over here to the Create tab. Before I actually go with this, I'll just point out there's functionality here for working with email addresses, for basically cleaning up email addresses and getting them straightened out in Excel, based again on a MasterMine template report. So you can quickly find bad email addresses or change them, or do what's necessary so that you maintain the value of your email list. And by the way, if you don't have this, you're probably stuck with, hey, bad email address, throw it away. Just get it out of GoldMine. You probably don't have very many opportunities to do something like, well, let's look at all the email addresses that are bad, in other words, that are not actually delivering, and figure out, can we tell from the context of it why it's bad? Is it just because it's missing the M at the end of com? Well, that's easy enough to add that to a bunch of them. Or is it, did somebody put a pound sign instead of an at sign in the email address? You can essentially look down a whole column of email addresses and probably save a bunch of them. And that may sound like really tedious work, but if you think about it, if you've been doing, let's say, drip marketing, or you've been doing nurture marketing, the amount of effort that it takes to actually bring in a new lead, it can be pretty substantial. I mean, the value of leads can be tens or hundreds of dollars, and to just simply write it off as being unworkable because because of a minor glitch in the email address is actually a really expensive way to clean your database. Much better to see what the possibilities are. So I won't preach about every one of these things, but managing email addresses is in here. Managing websites, that's the URLs, of course, for websites. Deleting subrecords, a really important feature, and you can delete subrecords from GoldMine, again, based on very careful selections using your pivot tables. And this can, by subrecords, we're talking about, not only additional contacts and details, but also pending activities, history activities. We have special cases for email. You could have, as a matter of fact, a lot of organizations, especially if you use the GoldMine email client, you have a lot of information in inboxes that somebody needs once in a while to go through and clear that out, if nothing else, just for the efficiency of GoldMine. And so we've got deleting as well as completing. Sometimes it doesn't make it doesn't make sense to delete pending activities if people had, let's say, left them on their calendar but failed to move them over into history. Here's a way to actually clear them out by putting them into history and getting them really out of the way of your other processes. What I'm going to point to here is the last one actually will be create. The last one, the last tab over here is managing linked documents, and so there's some functionality here to help you work with document links as well. In this case, I'm going to talk about creating new records. This is a whole area that really, again, it's simple. It's a simple idea. Take information from Excel, whether you've derived it from GoldMine data or you've derived it from some other application, and let's say returns from MailChimp or an import from your accounting system, whatever it is, and then do something appropriate with it. So in this case, what I wanted to do is create new pending activities. I want to create call records for all these ones, and I'm just going to quickly show you what that dialog looks like. Each of these has its own dialog that allows you to pull information either from the row of each item on the list there. So for example, we might say, let's have it, we're going to be creating calls here. As you can see, all the different types of activity that GoldMine can handle are there. Who do we want the user to be? Well, if there's a username over here, then we could pull it in. In this case, I might schedule them all for one person or for any of the other users in GoldMine. What date do I want the call to be? Well, in this case, it could be just today's date, or it could be any single date that we set in here. Or we could take a date, again, from the accounting system. Maybe we want to use the date of the sale as the date that we're actually scheduling it for, and then maybe we might do a second pass with Updater to let's say, move those from today forward, or so that we do them in order of when they came in or whatever. So for each field, you have a choice of whether to do a static value or to take a value from the columns in the worksheet that you're working with. The reference, we might be, follow-up 2015 purchase, might be what goes into the reference line for all of them, or again, it might be the name of the product that they bought, or maybe we'll put that in the notes actually. Why don't we do that? Let's put the name of the product that they bought down here into the notes. And whatever information makes the most sense. If we've got a product code, we can put it in the activity code and so on. All of this kind of boils down to, when we're ready to process this, it's telling me that I left my test run button checked on. I'm going to say yes. Let's go ahead and uncheck that so that it actually updates my GoldMine data. In this case, I only had one record selected on my original sheet. It was the machine solution. Let me just kind of take a look at it. Yeah, I just had the one selected. But if I drill down to the machine solution brokerage record, I will see under pending here a follow-up call that I just scheduled. And as you can see, that's now ready to go. In terms of sales management and just handling workflows and such, really important, useful stuff. So I spent a lot of time now on the importing, exporting, and scheduling things, importing, exporting, and creating subrecords in GoldMine. I did that because there's just a lot of value in that. If you want to learn more, of course, please contact us directly about any of this stuff, and we're happy to talk more about it. Okay, so now moving on to templates. There are actually quite a few new templates built into MasterMine, and they've been reorganized. Let me change this a little bit so we can just see. So there's interaction between the area of GoldMine on the left and the templates. You can see what we've done is organize them into 4 categories: GoldMine administration, sales management, marketing management, and customer service. There actually would be a 5th category, which is user-defined templates. So if you've saved any of your selections previously, if you've chosen a template, selected some fields, and then click Save as Template, of course you can save templates that can be recalled. They would be in their own folder down below. Within each of those categories are 2 or 3 other options here. So within GoldMine administration, we have general database analysis, GoldMine maintenance, and miscellaneous. Sales management is broken up into sales activity, which is looks at the actual activity of calls, appointments, and so on, as opposed to the second part, which is forecasting completed sales, the actual sale records themselves. And then the third one, of course, is the opportunities. All the templates that used to be here are still here, plus we've added other ones, particularly under the GoldMine administration area, and those are the ones that I'm going to focus on right now. And I want to talk about, let's see, a couple of key ones here. I'm not actually going to run these reports, I just want to sort of point them out. Curtaining management. If you've got a situation where your database, what you really want to do is manage the availability of records in your database to certain users. And I've worked with enough GoldMine customers to know that curtaining management is, for some, is really important, and for others, it's not even something they think about. So I won't go into it too deeply, except to say curtaining really is affected by two fields in GoldMine: the owner at the contact level and the owner and the status at the contact level. Those are the two fields that really indicate whether someone is curtained and to what degree they are curtained. And the curtaining management report pretty quickly just gives you, allows you to have an overview of the entire database. How is the curtaining set up right now? As well as, of course, because it's in a pivot table, makes it really easy to drill in on certain segments. Curtain an entire segment off at the all at once just by updating the owner field. That makes them eligible for curtaining, of course, and then changing the status field to be whatever is necessary for them to be fully or partially or semi-partially curtained. Without this, I don't know that there is any other efficient way of managing curtaining in GoldMine. I'm going to leave it at that. We'll probably do another webinar just on curtaining at some point. Some other key things, key types of things for GoldMine administration: transaction log reports. The reason these are in here, the reason they're so attractive is I can't tell you how many times I've been asked over the years, how can you show me the records that were updated, by whom and on what date, or within a certain date range, and what's going on with those. So, and most often that's because, well, I guess the question comes up for many different reasons. People just want to be able to, identify who's done what work, or why has certain information seemed to kind of go off the rails. And unless somebody had turned on history logging for that field, and you can do a limited amount of reporting with history logs, although that is also built into MasterMine. The transaction logs are automatically stored always for GoldMine, and unless the information is purged, it's available for reporting. And so that's what you can do with these transaction log reports. There is also, I won't go into it, but there is user log reporting. There is reporting on alarms, so you can actually manage alarms. And I've preached about that before in our end user things about how useful it is to actually clear out once in a while, clear out all the records that are set to alarm certain users, and I don't mean necessarily clear them out in terms of take them out of the pending activities, but clear out the alarm, the checkbox for the alarm, just so that you're no longer overwhelmed by how many things you have alarmed, and you can just start fresh. Or to manage those, to take the things that have been scheduled with alarms at a past date and move them into a future date so that they're not setting off your alarm every day. That returns to you the alarm functionality that's built into GoldMine that can be really effective, but that most people eventually kind of give up on because they just, at some point as they're working, they get overwhelmed. And then I mentioned also about clearing out mailboxes, email mailboxes and such. That's another major thing for GoldMine in the GoldMine management. Let's see, do I have that in mailboxes here? Here, let's go ahead and find out where it is. So here's the search dialog here, as you can see, works together with the list down here so that it filters this down to only reports that either have it as a keyword associated with them or as it does here with mailbox. Or if I had typed in inbox or email, I would have got to that same one and I could quickly choose that template to work with. So that's important to know, is that you can narrow down your selection of templates either with search terms or by selecting different areas on the left-hand side. Either way helps you to get to what you want. And then you've probably also noticed that over on the right-hand side, when I hover over a specific report, it tells me what the name of the report is, what the toolkit is that it's in, and then a brief description of what it is and does. Okay, so finally compatibilities, and then we're gonna come down to installing and questions. We're getting pretty close to the end of our time here. Compatibility. So MasterMine version 9 is compatible with Office 2007 or higher. That means if your users are on Office 2003, MasterMine won't stop you from running, but eventually you might start hitting some errors. We do not claim, we no longer claim compatibility with Office 2003. Likewise, with DBase-based GoldMine, we are now supporting only SQL-based GoldMine. Now, SQL, and actually SQL-based GoldMine that uses the GoldMine API. Therefore, what we're talking about really is anything from version 6.0 of GoldMine up to the current version, MasterMine will still support. So still pretty wide area of support there, but important to know those limitations. And of course, Windows 10, and I don't think there's any Windows version out there that's still in use that that MasterMine would not work with. Okay, installing and updating, and this is. Let's see, I've actually got a slide for that, so I'm going to slide over here. So, how to upgrade MasterMine to the current version. By the way, I hope if you've got questions, you will still go ahead and post them in the GoToWebinar dialog. How to upgrade MasterMine. So, number one, you will need a new version 9 license of MasterMine to install, or after you install the software, the first time you run it, it will check and it'll say, oh, your license in here is version 8. Please go ahead and enter your version 9 license. So you'll want to have that right away. Probably best to get that before you install MasterMine. Just send an email to sales@mastermine.net giving your current GoldMine serial number in case that has changed. And if you're current on maintenance with MasterMine, you will get a free one by return email, a free update for all of your version 9 licenses. If not, then of course we'll check back with you and try to get you back on MasterMine maintenance. So once you've got your license, just download from our website, www.mastermine.net. The website, by the way, is new, was just launched last week, and we'd love to get your feedback on that. I hope that you will find it really useful. There's a lot of great videos there for learning new things, and there is it's sorted out and hopefully easier to find what you need to find, especially in terms of support. Once you have the software downloaded, install it over the existing software on your workstation or terminal server. This is not application server based, so you don't install it where GoldMine application is. You install it on your local on your workstation or terminal server. Right-click on the installer and click Run as Administrator. And it should just overwrite the existing software and you should be good to go. Again, the first time you run it, you'll be asked for the new license number. And I already went through that process of upgrading old workbooks. The first time you open them up, just click yes that you want to upgrade to the current one, and yes to delete the backup, and be sure to hit the save button when you're done doing that, so that you're saved, so that your upgraded workbook is saved. If you do need support, you can write to get support here with Paul Montgomery here at paul@mastermine.net. You can actually reach him toll-free at the number there. He's at extension 211 when you're doing your update. So I have finally gotten down to questions with just a few minutes left. And Carnegie, I'm going to invite you. I hope that you may have seen questions as they've come in, if there are any.
I did, but some of them I just answered on my own. So,
okay.
Well, one of them, somebody was asking about IntelliClick and how this will it work differently as far as exporting or importing? And I thought, we have quite a few customers out here that are using IntelliClick, and I wanted to let them know if you are using IntelliClick, you don't have to use the export to Excel feature. That's more for Constant Contact and MailChimp and things like that. But IntelliClick, you could use the GoldMine group function to make your groups to send your emails straight out of IntelliClick that way. And if you need help with it, feel free to give me a call.
Right, and since you're mentioning it, I wanted to go to the Create dialog and just show the IntelliClick. Our set of IntelliClick reports are built into MasterMine. Everybody gets them, as well as a set of Constant Contact reports. They're just right there among the templates, you should be able to pick from among those. You can do your processing using those. You can, again, what I really like about it is that both Constant Contact and IntelliClick tend to cause a lot of data to come into your GoldMine database. They're going to be both here under the marketing management segment, as you would expect. And so with all that data pouring into your GoldMine, you want to keep it clean, and Updater is going to help you to do that, both in terms of completing information that's incomplete, as well as clearing out stuff that no longer is worth holding on to in your GoldMine database, or moving things to archive, or getting stuff out of the way. So MasterMine, again, is just going to work in concert with your existing GoldMine and your IntelliClick or whatever you've got to just help you to manage all that much better. So go ahead.
We had somebody else that downloaded version 9 a couple days ago, and they're getting a runtime error of 438, and I believe that has to do with that PDF reader, right?
No, I don't think so. Not if they just downloaded a few days. What I'm going to encourage you to do, because we've had a couple of last-minute changes that we needed to fix as we got closer to the webinar. If you have downloaded MasterMine in the past, well, really, if you've done it before today, and you are encountering any issues, I would encourage you to go ahead and try again, download again. The current, as of this moment, release of MasterMine is 9.0.151. And 151 is probably newer than you've got, since we just put it up today. If that does not resolve your issue, please let us know, and we'll be happy to look at it with you. Okay, any other questions for me to handle here?
That's it right there.
Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I would like to ask you guys to, and this is just the last thing I'm going to do, I've put up a poll, and I'm going to ask you to basically answer this question: what feature set is most likely to benefit you? And Carnegie, I think it's probably showing now, right? Yeah. And as you think about that, I want you also, and I tried to group them there kind of the same way that I was talking about them. As you think about that, I'd like you to also just think of, if there's other questions that you would like answers to, and you don't think of them while we're here on the session, that's fine. Email those to us at Carnegie. Is it sales@mastermine?
Correct.
Yeah, sales@mastermine.net. And Carnegie or I will be happy to answer those. You can also email me directly. I'm rob@mastermine.net. Most of you probably already know me as well. And I'm always happy to take direct questions like that. And there is a survey at the end of this, which we are just about ready to release you to. And there's only 3 questions on it, but it would really be helpful to us if you would answer them. In particular, if there's anything that you were hoping to hear about today that you did not, this is your chance to kind of steer this back to me and help me to do end user, a future end user webinar that will be helpful to you. And if it's something that's very specific about you, then obviously it might be better handled on a one-on-one basis. But we can sort of figure that out from what the question is. Okay, so we've gotten pretty far along here. I'm just going to go ahead and close the poll. So you can see it looks like, wow, fairly exact numbers there. 50% of those who responded found the GoldMine administration templates the most likely to benefit, and the other two split evenly between the report sharing and security features and the data importing and exporting features. With that, I'm going to say thank you all very much for taking the time to see the new MasterMine. I'm going to put up a final slide here, which is just my contact information. I think I'm going to do that. Oh, what am I missing here? Oh, there we go. Carnegie, why is that not showing?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. I must have done something to stop my my PowerPoint from showing. Well, in any case, thank you all very much.
Thank you, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, indeed. Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.